So I make an extra dry vodka martini, serve it to her. She sends it back, and I asked the server, why did they send this back? Because she said it just tastes like vodka. I mean, what did you think you just ordered? What's up, guys? This is Alan again, and welcome to another episode of the Off the Clock podcast. And today I want to bring up, I'm going to talk about an interesting subject. Like, I just noticed this the other day, which is funny because, and I had to write notes down because before the pandemic, there's so much things going on and you don't really notice things. But now that, I'm starting to work again, I'm starting to see like a lot of different behaviors and trends and how people act, in bars. And this one is pretty funny, and I wrote some notes here. The martini. Very, very common drink. There's gin martinis and vodka martinis. And there's one day that I just had a lot of martinis and I just made them and they just kept getting sent back. And I'm like, what's wrong with these martinis? It's like every person has a different reason on why they sent it back. And I just realized something. Like, everyone makes it differently. And all the guests request them to be made differently. So before we start, let's explain what a martini is, okay? Okay, martini. Traditionally, it's going to be gin with dry vermouth, served up. That means on glassware, on a stemware that doesn't have ice in it. And it's going to be garnished with either an olive or a lemon. After the gin martini, it was pretty popular, but when vodka was starting to blow up, that's when you start getting vodka martinis. And then, while the thing is, a lot of vodka drinkers don't really they want something that's very neutral flavored. So most of them order it dry. That means, having very little to no vermouth. And I think this is what creates a lot of confusion here. When you order a steak, sometimes you order it, medium rare, you have different options. But I think when it comes to martinis, there's just so much variance. And we'll discuss them right now. Almost everyone who orders a martini doesn't want any vermouth. Remember, the original martini was a gin martini, and it's 2 parts gin and 1 part vermouth. Now, I would have to say that even people who order with gin these days almost order it dry. And that's where the problem is like, you don't know how these people want their martinis. Like, do you want it the correct way, or do you want it, the way that you knew? And it creates this circular argument. Like, should we make it the way that is historically accurate, or should we make it the way that the guests think it's supposed to be made? Of course, it's going to get sent back if you don't make it the way. But how do you know that? How do you know this person who orders a gin martini wants it the 2-to-1 ratio? Like, unless the servers are asking these complicated questions to get it down to what they want, like, you really don't know what they want. The next point I want to talk about is almost everyone who orders a martini prefers the wrong kind of olives. Like, how many times have you seen or heard people asking for a stuffed or a cheese stuffed olives, or some of them prefer these giant grape size olives, the Spanish Queen olives, the super salty, barely any oil. Like, that's not a good. Those are not good olives. Like, people eat them because they're used to it, but as flavor wise, all you get is salt. Like, there's no taste of olives, and they're usually stuffed with pimentos or cheese, just to make it a little gimmicky, because a lot of these olives, unfortunately, aren't good enough to hold flavors that are palpable. I mean, there's nothing wrong with cheese stuffed olives, but when you put that into a vodka martini, like, the saltiness and the freaking cheese flavor just overwhelms the vodka. So it doesn't even add to the flavor profile of the martini. Like, it completely drowns it. Okay, next point I want to talk about. Many people who order martinis, who might not be martinis drinkers themselves, have no idea what's in them and are only repeating what they've seen or heard. I've had this one lady order a extra dry vodka martini. So I make an extra dry vodka martini, serve it to her. She sends it back, and I asked the server, why did they send this back? And then the server said, because she said it just tastes like vodka. I mean, what did you think you just ordered? Like, people just randomly say things and they don't realize that what they actually are. That's basically what a extra dry vodka martini is. It's just very cold vodka. That's it. And then the olive. Oh, here's a funny one I got just a week ago. This lady orders, I kid you not, this lady last week asks if I could make her a virgin martini. Like, does she know what's in a martini? It's all spirit. Like, I mean, yeah, there's non-alcoholic gins, but if you're ordering a non-alcoholic vodka martini, you're just getting ice water. Like, the fact that she even asked that makes me like know that she definitely doesn't know what a martini is. They order something that they think it is, which is most of the time gonna be a gin up or a vodka up with an olive or a twist. But that's not a martini. A martini has to have vermouth. That's by definition. But most martini drinkers don't want any vermouth. So what they're drinking, what they think is a martini, is not a martini. And then when the bartender uses vermouth, they try to make us sound like an idiot for putting vermouth there. They're like, can you make this? I had made this one gin martini the other day, and this guy was like, can you make this less vermouthy and more ginny? I was like, oh, you want me to make your martini less of a martini? That's what you want. Because that's what you're basically asking me to do. Also, I've never had somebody who came up to my bar, who is not a bartender themselves, prefer a martini with the correct proportions. I've never had anyone say, I want a martini with the, 2 ounces of gin and 1 ounce of vermouth. I've never had that happen. It's very hard to gauge somebody because a lot of people who claim to be martini drinkers are not even drinking martinis. Like I said, it has to have vermouth. There are very few people who prefer the 2-to-1 ratio of gin to vermouth. And that's the classic way. So when somebody says they want a martini and they claim to be a martini drinker themselves, like you have no idea what they want unless you have to ask them more questions. And another annoying thing is a lot of these martini drinkers want their martinis shaken. Okay, martinis are not supposed to be shaken. The reason why people think they're supposed to shake it is because of freaking James Bond movies where he orders it shaken, not stirred. Okay, first of all, what he actually orders in the books is not a martini, it's something called a Vesper. But for the movie adaptations, they just called it a martini to make it more simple. So a lot of people saw the movies and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna have a shaken martini. But no, you're not supposed to shake your martinis. And the second thing is, the Vesper is a variation of a martini, but the main reason why James Bond orders it shaken is because it's supposed to be edgy. It's supposed to be because he's like breaking, conformity to make him look badass. But it's not supposed to be the main way of making them. And here's another side rant, like people complaining that when you put a drink into a martini glass and then they'll be like, can you put it into a manly glass? Like, what are you talking about? Martinis and Manhattans are spirit forward drinks. They're stiff. They're mostly alcohol. Like, maybe because people saw, Sex and the City and they put Cosmos in them, maybe that's why they think it's feminine. Yeah, but martini glasses are meant to be used for like spirit forward drinks, like boozy stuff. So I don't know what people are thinking when they're saying that martini glass is a feminine glass. Also on a side note, extra dirty dry martini is probably, like I mentioned this before, the worst cocktail ever made. Because all you do is, you have vodka, which is a flavor enhancer. Vodka goes great with, strawberries. It makes the strawberries pop. It goes good with, oranges, makes the orange pop. But the extra dirty, dry martini doesn't make any sense because the only other flavor profile is salt. So you're basically asking, the vodka to enhance the flavor of the salt. Like, are people drinking like seawater? Like, how do you end up enjoying drinking extra dirty, dry martinis where the only flavor is salt, like saline? So yeah, with all these like variances and stuff, like I could see why this drink is always getting sent back because the server might not be asking enough questions. The guests might not even know what a martini is, and they don't even know what they're ordering, and they're just basically saying something that they've seen on TV, like a celebrity or a movie star say, and they have no idea what they're ordering. The bartender, and then when the ticket goes up to the bartender has no idea what the guest is asking for. They could literally say extra dirty gin dry martini, and they could be thinking of a freaking lemon drop. Well, anyways, that's my rant. I wonder what you guys think about this. Like, are you guys martini drinkers? Do you prefer the classic way, or do you guys drink it, extra dry with no vermouth? Please leave in the comment section on what you guys think and about this subject, on whether or not bartenders should be making it, the extra dry style that most people request, or they should make it the classic style, which has 2-to-1 ratio, like a good hefty amount of vermouth. And once again, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.